Yep. All right, I'm going to say a couple things. Can you turn the volume up a little bit? Yeah. Otherwise it'd be hard to hear. Although depending on your questions, I might want the volume up a little bit, right? I'll say something quick. Actually, tell me, and I'll take others too, but who's from Iowa? Okay. Yeah, John, well, you are from Iowa, but who's from Iowa Press, right? Okay, so I'll give you the first one. I'll give a couple to Iowa just to be fair. A lot of you guys follow, and I'll come around, and then I'll let others ask. But great to be here in Iowa. What a great day, super day. For me, it's a lot of fun. We're going to be doing a full Grassley here. This is the start of our tour in 99 counties across the state. We got a wonderful RV. It's a lot of fun. My wife, Tonette, and our two boys, Matt and Alex, along with some friends are with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. What a great place to start in Scott County at this great ballpark. And we're looking forward to having fun, being all around the state. On Sunday, I'll be back in Plainfield, where I lived during my early childhood from 1970 to 77. And so we're looking forward to that as well. And I think it's a great chance for us to get our message out about reform, about growth, about safety. As you saw from the crowd here today, I think people are hungry for that new, fresh leadership with big, bold ideas outside of Washington, and someone who's got the track record to prove they can do it. And so we're certainly excited to be here. We're going to keep coming back here, as we're going to come back to other places like New Hampshire and South Carolina and Nevada, plenty of other states, but we're proud to be here back home in the Midwest. First one?
Can you win the nomination without winning Iowa?
Well, I think Iowa is going to be important both in the caucuses. Certainly the first state to take a vote is incredibly important. So we're competing. We think we can compete in all the early states, at least to be first, second, or third to place. So Iowa is important, but it's also important, as I mentioned, I'm going to be here not just for the caucuses. I'm asking people to caucus for me, and then I'm asking for their help again in November. Because if I have the honor of serving as the nominee of my party, I think Iowa is going to be key to winning the presidency. I think the pathway for a Republican to win the presidency goes through the Midwest, goes through states like Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio. I even include Pennsylvania in that mix.
Governor, what do you...
I'll name Jessica. You're Iowa? You're over here?
Yeah, just across the river, the state of Illinois, 17 days now without a budget. What advice would you give to Governor Rauner?
Well, hang firm. I mean, I think it's important for him. He's got some real fiscal challenges. They've got to deal with their tax problems, their education problems, their pension problems. I think voters in that state elected him because they wanted him to get the job done. I mean, he, throughout the campaign, both in the primary and the general election, talked about admiring the work that I had done and that Mitch Daniels before us had done. And I think voters in that state, a majority of whom were not necessarily Republicans, voted for him to get the job done. So I tell him to hang tough and do what's right for the taxpayers.
Governor, Fox News poll yesterday puts you in second place at 15%. At first is Donald Trump.
Yeah.
What do you think? How do you explain his rise, and how are you going to combat it?
Well, I think we're doing pretty good considering I just announced on Monday and I'm already in second place in the national polls. So we're going to keep getting our message out. We're not going to, I'll let the other candidates talk about their own positions. I'm going to tell people what I'm for, and I think the more people hear what we're for, and in particular when they see the difference between all the different candidates, regardless of where they're in the polls. A lot of great Republicans, probably the most talented field we've seen since 1980. But in the end, there's really two kinds of candidates. There are fighters in Washington, people who are fighting but have yet to win those fights largely. And then there are winners, people who've won elections but haven't consistently been involved in the fights the last few years that really matter. And what makes us unique and how we move up and ultimately win and do well in state after state is getting the message out that we can do both. We can fight and win. People's lives are better because of it. Give us a chance. We want to fight and win for all Americans.
Governor, what do you...
I'll go here and then I'll come around.
But what do you say to the criticism that's now taking place that the deal with the Milwaukee Bucks may benefit someone who's heavily involved in your campaign?
The person involved is actually one of the owners is one of the primary bundlers for Hillary Clinton. So from my regard, I didn't care about whether it's the owners or not. What we were trying to do is make sure we protected from having a major hole in our budget. And if there's not an NBA team playing in the state of Wisconsin, we lose right now $6.5 million per year. We potentially lose over the next 20 years about twice as much as that if the state does nothing. And so our interest is purely in protecting the taxpayers, as we've said repeatedly.
Governor, about Donald Trump, Rick Perry has said his rhetoric is demagoguery. Lindsey Graham has said he's a wrecking ball for the party. John McCain said he incites the crazies in the party to get active. Why don't you comment on what he's saying? Do you agree with what he's saying, or do you disagree?
What I've said is that Donald Trump can speak for himself. I'm going to answer questions about my positions, not about Donald Trump's or Jeb Bush's or Marco Rubio or anybody else out there. I've said consistent. Every time someone's gotten the race, you all ask me what I thought about it. And I've said I think it's great that there are a ton of Republicans in the race. I think it shows incredible optimism from the Republicans across the country that we can not only elect a new president, but that American people are going to respond to a Republican. I need to make my case as to why I think I'm the best candidate to do that. The best candidate not only to win for the party but for the country. And so you want to ask what my position is, for example, on immigration? It's simple. I believe we should secure the borders. I think we should enforce the laws. I don't believe in amnesty, and I believe going forward we need to have a policy for legal immigration that puts a priority in American working families, their wages, in a way that will improve the American economy. I'll let him comment on that. If you're going to ask me again, I'll give you the same answer 50 more times. So if you want to waste your time on that question, go ahead.
How long do you think Trump will be atop the polls for?
That depends on the polling. I mean, you know, these national polls, not just for him, for others, a lot of it's based on name ID. To me, what matters is ultimately what polls say in states like Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina and Nevada and other early primary and caucus states out there. That's where the real difference. And the only poll that really matters is the one on election.
Governor, in terms of federal issue advocacy groups, should they be able to coordinate with candidates the same way that state groups can do now in Wisconsin?
Well, they should abide by the law and ultimately what's upheld to the Constitution. So I'll leave that to the courts to define what the
law. If you were president, would you see changes to the federal campaign regulations?
And that's really not something we have looked at. I've tried to focus on issues that people ask me about. Other than reporters, nobody's asked me about that.
Governor,
last question.
The federal minimum wage.
No, I don't support changing, and I just think a better alternative to what some like Hillary Clinton are proposing is being in a position to help people get the skills and education they need to make far more than the minimum wage. That would be my priority as president.
Governor, just to follow up on the first question, do you have any concern that the expectations here in Iowa are so high for you that even a second place finish would really be viewed as a loss?
I used to run track, and my small town, I had plenty of victory. I came from behind on. I had others where my coach used to say, it's a lot easier to win if you're ahead. So obviously in polls you like it if you're ahead, whether it's here or anywhere else in the country. But in the end, we know there's a lot of time. A lot can happen between now and then. We're just going to stay focused day by day, week by week, getting our message out. We think it's a message. We know it's a message that resonated in Wisconsin 3 times in the last 4 years in a blue state. And we think in a neighboring state like Iowa, but in a state like New Hampshire and South Carolina and Nevada and Georgia and Florida and plenty of other places out there, we think it's a message that can resonate all across America. So we're not going to worry about the polls. We're just going to do what we've done. Remember, I was down in the mid-30s back at the beginning of 2011. Time magazine, I think, called me Dead Man Walker. And then we came back and won the recall election by more votes and a higher percentage of the vote than we did in the first election. So for me, polls never matter. Just doing the right thing is what matters to me.
Governor, a lot of the crowds at your event have been very white. Is that a problem?
Well, for us, we don't limit who comes in, who doesn't. The bottom line is we're going to reach out everywhere. Again, this time of day, this is the crowd that shows up, and we'll go to other places along the way, just as we have when I've run for governor. We've been to all different parts of the state of Wisconsin. I'll be to all different parts of Iowa and New Hampshire and other places out there. But
Okay, let's
thanks.
go.
Thank you.
Thank you.